Welcome in, everybody, to the CFB Nation All-America podcast. I'm Bill Trocchi, senior editor at sportingnews.com, alongside Bill Bender, our national college football writer at sportingnews.com, and the president of the Football Writers Association of America. We're coming to you live on our CFB Nation YouTube channel again. If you want to subscribe, just go over to youtube.com, search CFB Nation, and click subscribe. The first of two today, Bill. We're going to do another double header because it's a Tuesday in November, so you know what that means. We got rankings tonight. They've moved the time to 7 o'clock on ESPN. It was 8 o'clock last week. So you and I will be back with Mr. Brian Driscoll.
Yeah, it's another exciting week. We're getting down the stretch run here. I know they're calling it Separation Saturday, presented by Peloton on ESPN coming up this week.
They got a sponsor for it.
It's a big weekend when you've got a sponsor that's the bike, right? The bike that you ride, and I don't know. I don't do that stuff.
They've got like a little trainer for you. They got the whole group does it at the same time. Bill, come on, get with it.
I just do push-ups. That's the old Herschel Walker workout. You can tell here. So, we're ready, though. And I know we got to talk about some stuff that happened last weekend that will precede the rankings for sure.
Oh, yeah. So we are going to get into first, like Brian Kelly's suddenly not fired, according to LSU. Dan Wetzel with the lawsuit. This morning, we'll touch on that. We'll get into, obviously, the week 11 wrap-up. Indiana and Oregon both having mirror escapes almost, driving in the final 2 minutes to pull out victories in games they were favored to win, and they did. We'll touch on the ACC. We'll touch on old Texas Tech. It keeps rolling along in Lubbock. And then discuss Lincoln Riley's fake punt and what your thoughts are on that one. But first, let's get into Trocchi trivia. And it's kind of a three-question question, okay? I'll see if I can explain it as best I can. It's more of an educated guess on your part, but it will provoke a little bit of a discussion, which is the point of it. I pulled these numbers from David Hale's newsletter from ESPN. He's been on our podcast. He's great. He's one of the best. Focuses a lot on the SEC. But anyway, he had these numbers in his newsletter, so I am going to pull them out and steal them for the Trocchi trivia. Here we go. Over the last 8 years, how many times have the three biggest brands in the ACC all won 8 games in the same season? And then I'm going to ask the same question for the Big Ten and the same question for the SEC. You're muted right now. So the three biggest brands in the ACC, Florida State, Clemson, and Miami. How many times in the last 8 years have all three won 8 games at the same time?
Florida State, who in Miami?
Clemson.
Okay.
And then the three biggest brands in the Big Ten, of course, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State.
Uh-huh.
And then Alabama, Georgia, LSU.
And what's the year range?
Last 8 years. So It's either 5 out of 8 years, 2 out of 8 years, 8 out of 8 years, whatever. So see what you think. The three biggest brands have all basically performed well in the same year at the same time over the last 8 years. And we'll get to that answer.
I'll get close, I'm sure.
You'll get close, and we'll get that at the end of the show. So let's jump in with Mr. Brian Kelly. Suddenly, Dan Wetzel from ESPN had a news this morning that Brian Kelly is suing LSU because LSU had a phone call with him yesterday, according to the petition that Kelly fired, that LSU is now seeking to fire Kelly, quote, for cause, and potentially avoid paying the full buyout of $54 million. The filing claims that LSU informed Kelly's representatives on Monday, and then Wetzel got his hands on the suit. And then, according to the suit, LSU's representatives had a call with Coach Kelly's representatives where LSU took the position that Coach Kelly had not been formally terminated and informed Coach Kelly's representatives for the first time LSU believed grounds for termination for cause existed. And Kelly's lawyers are seeking a declaratory judgment confirming that LSU's termination of Coach Kelly is without cause and that Coach Kelly is entitled to receive the full liquidated damages provided. So it took 48 pages, by the way, to say that in the lawsuit. Billable hours for the lawyers, always good in these type of cases. So basically, it seems like LSU is tried to negotiate initially, and Kelly rejected whatever discount LSU was seeking, and now Kelly is pulling out the big guns and saying he wants all $54 million. The bottom line to me with this thing, it's going to scare away the Lane Kiffins and the James Franklins and whoever else you're trying to hire. I mean, you're not going to scare everybody away. But again, these shenanigans, they never work. Oh, one more thing. Tom Mars, who is a lawyer, and he chimed in when he saw this morning. His tweet was, "No school has ever won a, quote, termination for cause, quote, lawsuit, even when they could allege grounds with a straight face. Thus, it seems unlikely that LSU could set a new precedent when everyone in college sports is laughing at them for taking a position that's absolutely absurd."
Right.
So,
they're going to pay.
what is LSU? Why is LSU continually shooting themselves in the foot?
As for hiring another coach, I honestly don't think that matters that much, because you can just throw 10 million at them and they'll come. At the end of the day, the money will talk. Now, about the buyout part, and I think I'm going to speak with Amy Perko from the Knight Commission about this later this week on the CFB Nation interview. I mean, these buyouts are absurd, but Brian Kelly's going to get that money. He's going to do everything he can to get that money. They're not going to negotiate it. I mean, he's the one that got embarrassed the most because he got fired in the middle of the season. Like the other people at LSU embarrassed themselves, but Brian Kelly, you can say he underperformed. I mean, he was 34-14. I'm not a Brian Kelly hater. I'm not, because I think he's had a successful coaching career. Maybe didn't get a national championship, and maybe you don't like him, but he's won a lot of football games, and he's entitled to go after that money, because that's probably his retirement money that's going to be spent on a golf course the rest of his life. So, LSU, that they're going to have a hard time winning this one, and it just adds another bizarre PR hit that the school is going to have to endure before it hires its next coach. Do I think it's an end all in, if they're trying to court Lane Kiffin? I don't think Lane Kiffin's coming anyway. But whoever that next coach is.
But if he was on the fence, is he going to? This is how they treated Brian Kelly. They gave him this huge contract. Now they're trying to not live up to the contract. How would that not give you pause if you're on the fence? If you're James Franklin, you're looking at Auburn and LSU, and you're leaning LSU because they've won national championships and all that. And you're like, wait a second, that place is, the governor, right, the athletic director, with the Title IX problems that he was suspended for all that, and that's going to bubble up. And it's like, that place is a circus. I could go to Auburn or Florida State. I'm not going to LSU. That place is nuts.
Yeah, but you can win a national title at LSU. I mean, I don't know if you're winning a national title at those other places right now. Maybe, you could make the same argument about Penn State and you just fired a guy that won 70% of his games. What are you going to do to me when I go 8-4 in this 18-team Big Ten that has imbalance?
You can make an argument. They gave him a long rope for a long time, and he hit his ceiling, and they wanted to move on. And I don't think it's mistreating him. This place right now is just in disarray. I don't know if Penn State's in disarray. They just got fed up with coming close and not reaching what they thought their ceiling is. Now we'll see if they know what their ceiling is, but they thought it was higher than what James.
But I'm saying LSU's hit that ceiling with 3 different coaches. So that's the allure. If at the end of the day, all of this circus, but if you throw $8, $9, $10 million at a coach and say, here, you got the keys to it's still the best setup of the 9 programs in the Power 4 with the talent that's coming in, with the the spotlight, with the proven ability to win the draft picks. Now, like you said, Auburn can be that. You're right. They've won a national title in the last 15 years. Florida could be that, I think. I'm not sure, but I think they could. And then, Florida State may come open. They continue to slide. So, Yeah, but to your point, yeah, if you're a coach, you would certainly give you pause if you're going to have a buyout. And I think the subjects of buyouts, yeah, I'll definitely be asking Amy about some of these questions later this week.
All right, well, let's get into the Week 11 wrap-up. First, I want to start with Bill Bender Elite, and then we can get into Indiana and Oregon. Of course, you were in Canton, Ohio. Is that right?
Yeah. We had a blast. We had a bunch of freshman boys went to Canton. I have a jersey, actually. So
we got the jersey, too.
Yeah,
you got to hang that on your wall. You got to hang it behind you.
They gave me this one. So
awesome.
We went and we played in a lacrosse tournament, a bunch of freshman boys trying to get some extra reps in. This was their idea, not mine, but there's our team name, Bill Bender
Elite.
And
a reversible jersey. I like it.
We look good. We wore green and white because I've wore green and white my whole life. And no, they played awesome. We got to the championship game and in the wet and the rain. We had like I said, there's a bunch of these St. Charles boys and a couple others that had fun out there. And that's what it's all about when you have these kids. Now, the funny part of the weekend was Saturday night, a bunch of the boys stayed at the hotel. We were bonding and all that. And 2:00 in the morning, the fire alarm went off. And my thought was, which one of I knew it wasn't one of our boys, but like we had a bunch of kids with lacrosse sticks. They brought their lacrosse sticks to the parking lot at 2 a.m. So they're sitting there like, yeah, they didn't want those to get caught in the imaginary fire at the hotel because somebody pulled the alarm. But as I told
Father Penny wants your team to autograph the shirt for you before you get it framed, you get autographs, and maybe it'll be worth something someday. You never know.
It was fun. And I told those guys, we it was their idea with the team name. And I said, but they were the ones that put their name on the weekend. They were awesome. They're good kids. They're good students. They had so much fun. And like I said, we got to the championship game. We lost to a really good Olentangy Liberty program. I mean, if you live in Ohio, you know what they're all about. They're really good, but we played with them and hung in there, and I had a blast. So it was fun. I was very tired Sunday night. I did get to watch the game Saturday night, though. That was the fun part, being around some other parents and, watching the games, and definitely had some of these games we're going to talk about on. Definitely had Indiana, Penn State, and Oregon, Iowa on, and then later Alabama, LSU.
Yeah, let's talk about another Midwest team that had fun over the weekend. Indiana, their great escape. They beat Penn State 27-24 on Saturday. And if you're listening to this podcast, presumably you've seen Omar Cooper Jr.'s touchdown catch with 36 seconds left that won the game for the Hoosiers. Indiana drove 80 yards in 10 plays with less than 2 minutes to go. They had no timeouts and avoided the upset against the team still looking for its first Big Ten win. They look like a pretty good team on Saturday, though, I'll tell you that. Fernando Mendoza finished 19 of 30, 218 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 fourth-quarter interception. He was 5 for 9 for 87 yards on the game-winning drive, had to overcome a sack on the first play. And, of course, he was getting hit as he threw that game winner. Matt Fortuna, friend of the pod, is giving him the Heisman. Pat Forty hinted at it as well. What say you?
I mean, so if he goes 11 of 28 against Ohio State and they lose by 3 touchdowns, we're giving him the Heisman. I mean, he's in the mix. If I was voting on it today, I would vote for Julian Sayin. And this is the debate. I've had it 3 times this week already. And I am not disrespecting Fernando Mendoza. He's definitely going to have a case that will be either open or shut against Ohio State. That's it. Like, if you vote for Fernando, unless Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sayin kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Take each other's votes away, however you want to do it. Bastardize each other, I suppose, is the word. And yeah, but I'm not shortchanging what Fernando Mendoza did. It was an incredible drive. But I will say this, as somebody that probably watches Indiana with a little more critical eye, they got away with one there. Penn State outplayed them in the second half completely, ran right down their throat, controlled the game up front on both sides, had, I think, 8 or 9, let me look at it right now, 8 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. But Fernando Mendoza, and Indiana struggled to run the ball, which that's kind of been their signature running through teams. So to me, great comeback, unbelievable catch by Omar Cooper Jr., one of the best catches I've seen in a long time. But there are some warning signs there for when they play Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama that, okay, you're going to need him to do that because Penn State dominated that game with its defensive line. They were juiced up. And let's see, because we have people at Sporting News that were downplaying the Oregon Penn State victory. Are you going to downplay that one too? No, Penn State still got dudes. They can still play football. It was a good game.
So you're a Heisman voter. It's most outstanding player, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is intentionally vague. I like how it's vague. You can have fun debates about it. You can say one thing you can say about Saturday is he was at his best when his best was needed. And that is a cool thing. And that is the Heisman moment thing. And we'll see if Sayin gets in some jeopardy at some point and has to be at his best when his best is needed. They've been pretty comfortably ahead most of the season. I guess week 1 was a tight one. They scored 10 points. I don't know if you want to hang your hat on anything that really happens in week 1, but give credit to Mendoza. Like I said, he was at his best when his best was needed, and they pulled it out, and it was a great win for them. And we presumably figure they'll still be number 2 tonight. Let's go to Oregon. Oregon's great escape. It's almost the same thing.
Right.
They gave up a touchdown with a 1:51 to play, and they had to drive 54 yards on 10 plays. The highlight being just an obscene throw from Dante Moore to Malik Benson for 24 yards. I assume you saw that pass.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even a window. As I think Gary Danielson said on CBS, it wasn't a window. It was a porthole that he threw it through. Oregon's first quarter safety on a bad snap on a punt ends up being the 2-point difference, the margin of victory. Good, lucky. What are we taking away from Oregon in this one?
I would say gutsy, like that. I've watched so many Big Ten teams do. Indiana nearly did it. Go to Iowa. It's wet. It's gross. Their run defense is nasty. And just,
although
Kirk Ferentz just finds a way. Go ahead. Yeah, Oregon ran the ball on them.
They ran for 261 yards.
Yeah, but I mean, in the wet, the rain, and Iowa finds ways to ugly those games. I've watched them do it to Michigan. I've watched them do it to Ohio State once a year. It's the Kirk Ferentz special, and they avoided it. They got through it. And, yeah, that as good as Omar Cooper's catch was, Dante Moore's throw was probably equal because it set up that field goal. It was an unbelievable throw in tight coverage. And Sappington's able to Atticus Sappington. What a name for a kicker or a lawyer or a 18th century United or colonial politician. I don't know, but he made
39-yard field goal with 3 seconds left.
People are down on Oregon, but the bottom line is they're probably in the playoff now because they could probably split Washington, USC, get 10-2, and be the third Big Ten team in the playoff. And whether or not you think they're good, they did lose a receiver to injury. They still have a really good defensive front. And Dan Lanning, I don't know if they're as good as they were last year, but I know they're good enough to get in the playoff. And they're still not a team you want to play. I think the problem is they lost that Indiana game by 10, and we've kind of written them off ever since. So, huge win, huge escape, fun game to watch. I love games with that kind of weather. Not all the time, but certainly in that environment for them to go to Kinnick and get a win. I've seen plenty of teams not do that.
Well, it's the fact that we went over their schedule last week. They've only played basically now 2 top 50 teams, and they beat one on a last-second field goal, and they lost to one. So maybe that's why people aren't as scared as like the normal Oregon, who beat Ohio State at home during the regular season last year and really established themselves as the number 1 seed in the CFP last year. They're not as good as they were last year.
They play Friday night too, and that's a chance for people to watch them when they're playing the Gophers, and maybe they recalibrate and beat them. I do think the 2 games on the Big Ten schedule remaining that are going to determine whether or not this conference has 4 playoff teams are USC, Oregon. That's next week, and that's at Oregon. So can USC actually go up there and win? And then the other one, I was just on the Bobby Carpenter show with those guys, and I said, you're not going to like the other answer for how they get 4 playoff teams in the Big Ten. It's if Michigan wins out and beats Ohio State in Ann Arbor in 3 weeks. Those are the USC and Michigan are the last hopes for a 4th playoff team, because while that Iowa-Oregon game was going on, I had another TV on in the restaurant. Table 6 in Canton's really good, by the way. And Wisconsin beat Washington. So I would think I was on here talking all this, pumping up Washington and gassing them up, and then they went to Madtown and got beat over the weekend. So I mean, that probably eliminated the Huskies. And keep an eye on Jed Fish to Florida.
Really?
It's just a hunch,
like
nothing to speculate there. But I mean, he's the guy that would make sense.
Yeah, he's jumped around all his whole career as an assistant.
That would, and he's got Florida ties. That would make sense if Jed Fish went from Washington to Florida to me.
All right, over to the ACC. The ACC, as David Hale referred to them this week in his newsletter, the All Catastrophe Conference. I got a question to lead this discussion off. Without Georgia Tech beating Georgia, is this a 1-bid league? Is that the only way they get 2?
It's probably a 1-bid league. We're going to have those ACC tiebreakers and scenarios up. The thing is, in that article, you can't possibly go through every scenario, but you can paint the best scenario for each team. And here's the ACC for you in 2 sentences or 2 maybe paragraphs. Duke has 4 losses and has the cleanest look at the ACC championship game. That's 1. Virginia has 1 ACC loss and will be either the 1st or 2nd ranked team behind Georgia Tech tonight. And they are a touchdown underdog against Duke. That's, those powers that David was talking about in his letter. I'll have to go read it. Florida State and Clemson are nowhere near the race. Miami still has some life. They need some help. And I think, to your point, to answer your question, Georgia Tech is the best bet to get in to me still. The 2 most important games in the ACC over the next couple of weeks that will determine all this are Georgia Tech Pitt, which, by the way, Pitt, Pat Narduzzi, for the Notre Dame fans on here, he doesn't care if he loses 113-0 this week, apparently. And SMU Louisville's a big game next week because SMU can still get back to Charlotte. So there's a lot of wrinkles to this race, but it all leads to one mathematical conclusion, and that's 1 playoff bid.
Yeah, I mean, if the path to the at-large is Georgia Tech beats Pitt, beats Georgia, finishes 11-1, loses a tight ACC championship game, maybe they get an at-large. I don't see any other ACC team with any other path. Did Narduzzi say something about this weekend?
Oh, he said, I don't. Jack Frencho is a friend of the program, friend of the family, by the way, is on, and he's saying we'll take that. So Pat yesterday basically said, let me pull it up real quick because I want it to be accurate. Sorry about the typing.
Mr. Jack Frencho's in our room.
Yeah,
here.
He's the man. Pat, he's the man. Jack's the man. They can put 100 up on us as long as we win the next 2 after that. That was a quote from Pat yesterday about the Notre Dame game. He said,
game day's got to love that, boy.
There you got game. No, and they said it's not a must-win game, and he's technically right. Like, here's the other part of that. So Pitt at that point could be 7-3 with a loss in the backyard brawl and a 100-point loss to Notre Dame, apparently. In a game that for our Notre Dame listeners in the comments, please answer this question for me. I always thought of this growing up where I did in Ohio, that I always thought Pitt Notre Dame was a cool game, cool rivalry, right? Like when I was growing, I felt like that was a big game, right? Like, and now you've kind of de-emphasized that by saying we don't care about it, even though I'm really looking forward to the matchup between Jeremiah Love against those Pitt linebackers. But to answer the question, if they lose, then they go beat Miami and Georgia Tech in consecutive weeks, they're probably going to be in Charlotte. So Pitt with 3 losses could absolutely be in the college football playoff and nobody would have thought that was possible. I think this is all bad for the conference that we're talking about it in this vein, that we have all these scenarios. On one end, it's fun. It makes the regular season interesting. On the other, I was sitting there in the hotel Saturday night watching Louisville lose. Virginia, I mean, you probably had more of an eye on that game. Virginia lost their quarterback. Didn't help, but I'm like, will somebody stand up? Georgia Tech probably benefited the most just simply from being on a bye week.
Right. And I mean, Miami and Georgia Tech lost a week before. So everybody is lost in November already who we're talking about. The ACC is not going to be thrilled with a 3-loss Pitt and a 4-loss Duke in Charlotte. I'll tell you that. They do not.
No, because that team is, and then this other debate's come up is like, what if they're not a top 5 conference champion?
Right.
I mean, and it's not, it is not out of the realm of the possibility that they're the 5th one to me. Like, because if South Florida won the American, they could be the 4th highest ranked conference champion. We're doing straight seeding. It doesn't matter. They're not going to put James Madison over at least I don't think they will. But, James Madison's lurking around in there as one of those teams that's ranked now.
Yeah, they're 24 in AP. I bet the committee keeps them out just because they want to protect the ACC.
They will absolutely protect the ACC without saying they're protecting the ACC. It was fun putting that piece together last night because my conclusion was, what's the easiest ACC championship game to me? And to me, it's Georgia Tech Pitt winner playing the Louisville SMU winner if Duke wins. And you really don't want, no offense to Duke, you really don't want an 8-4 Duke team in Charlotte.
Right.
That lost to UConn last week.
And they outplayed Georgia Tech the first game. They got a fumble return 99 yards the other way. And, Georgia Tech had to pull that one out. Like if there was a rematch, I wouldn't bet against Duke. And all of a sudden you've got a 4-loss team representing you in the CFP. So real quick, the other big team that came through on Saturday, Texas Tech, they basically dominated BYU. Right. They were up 26-0 in the fourth quarter. Just that suffocating defense. They ended up winning 29-7. It's hard not to see them winning a rematch in the Big 12 championship game if it comes to that. So my question is, go ahead and rank the 3 best teams in Texas. Where do you put Texas, Texas Tech, and Texas A&M? Who's 1, 2, 3 in that group?
In our latest playoff projections, we have Texas playing Texas Tech in the first round of the playoff. Ooh. Now, if Texas loses to Georgia, that will maybe be Vanderbilt, by the way. Of the teams outside the SEC, Big Ten, Notre Dame bubble, Texas Tech's the most interesting to me because they're really good on defense. Jacob Rodriguez is a maniac, 14 tackles against BYU. David Bailey's really good. Their running game's kind of relentless. They've got 2 running backs. And Baron Morton, when healthy, veteran quarterback that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. So they're actually the one I want to see play at Georgia or play at Oregon. And the NIL money I care zero about. That's the name of the game now. You have to spend money to win. And, they're one team. They're 2. Texas A&M's 1 to me, though. I think they're underappreciated. And that combination of offense and defense is very good. I need to see Texas A&M play Texas one way or the other. That's just for me. I mean, they're very good. If they beat Texas and win that game, then I would push them up to number 2, maybe even number 1. Not saying they're better Ohio State, but they would have a better resume, I think, at some point. And then that leaves the Longhorns, who get their spotlight moment this weekend against Georgia. And they are playing better. Their defense is nasty. Arch has turned a little bit of a corner, and they had a bye week to get ready for Georgia. I want to see what they have for the Bulldogs. They played the Bulldogs tight, at least in the SEC championship game. Can they do it again here? And if they win that game, put themselves in position to maybe get in the playoffs. So Texas is fun. All 3 of them are fun. But I so impressed with how Texas Tech just manhandled BYU. And really, they're going to be in the Big 12 championship game. It's just a matter of who's going to play them.
They manhandled everybody. That's the thing. So I looked at their schedules. Like, they have that one blemish at Arizona State. They lost on a last-second touchdown. Every other game, they've won by at least 20 points. Texas A&M has a 1-point win at Notre Dame, a 6-point win against Auburn, who's fired their coach, a 3-point win against Arkansas, who's fired their coach. And then Texas, of course, their losses are to Ohio State and Florida. And then they have 1-score wins against Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt. So Texas Tech, probably an easier schedule than the other two, but they have consistently just beat people down more so than the other two Texas teams. So, and then Friday night, were you watching the Lincoln Riley fake punt, or do you know all about it?
I know all about it. It's shady. It's shady as can be. Go ahead.
So he was very smug after the game, telling the reporters, "You guys didn't notice it either, ha ha!" Like he had outsmarted everybody. When in fact, the Big Ten has now come out and said it is illegal to have two players wear the same number at the same position during the same game. And so it should have been a 15-yard penalty when the actual punter came out, and it was two players. He used his backup quarterback for a fake punt at number 80, which they didn't change online. They only changed on the flip cards at the game. And then the regular punter came on, and that should have been a 15-yard penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. And I'm curious if you think he knew that part of the rule and did it anyway, or did he not know the rule? And if he didn't know the rule and he comes off all smug and everything, it's sort of embarrassing.
Yeah, it should be an unsportsmanlike. It's an easy way to do this is, I know Mike DeCourcy, my colleague, he works with us, obviously, the great Mike DeCourcy. He put out a tweet that's like, you could solve this by not having double numbers and having kids' numbers in the hundreds. I don't know if I like that because, bringing out the jersey one more time. I was a wide receiver in high school that wore that number, by the way, 92. It's backwards. So I get that. Like, if you don't, that's something I think they should. NFL now allows they're more freedom with what number you can wear. But to me, if you're going to do that, and you have I think the number was number 30 on the punter, it should be reported before the game. Say, hey, our quarterback's wearing number 30. The punter wears number 30. And then if the Northwestern special teams coach doesn't make a note of that, that's on him, right? Like, that's one way around it. But I think I got the comparison to Little Giants earlier. It's kind of that kind of, this is Pee Wee football stuff. Like, let's play grown-up football, do things the right way. You can, be smug about that kind of thing, but it should have been a penalty at that point, and it's a little bit dirty. And some of those things make college football fun, but just do it the right way. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, 100%. And the game was tied at that point. And it ended up, being kind of a big play, big touchdown. For
early in the season, they played a guy that was marked as out on the injury report. That was against Michigan. They had a running back that they marked as out, and he played in the game. So, this is twice now where we've had, one of these with Lincoln Riley. So I've got a little less grace for him now.
Yep, I agree. Anyway, okay. Well, let's get back to the Troche trivia question, and then we will get out of here. So over the last 8 years, how many times – we'll go 1, 2, 3 here. We'll start with the ACC. How many times have Clemson, Florida State, and Miami all won 8 games in the same year?
Probably none.
Or none one. Is correct.
None. That sounds about right. And I think I did a similar stat with Miami. I think if you take Clemson out of the equation, it's still pretty close to none.
Yeah, it's not a high bar. 8 wins is not a high bar for your biggest brand.
Right.
That's why the league is struggling. So, all right, Big Ten?
5.
6.
Oh, even better.
6 for 8.
17. Yes, I was close. And then
2020, Penn State and Michigan both missed it, and in 21, Penn State missed it.
Well, yeah. And then LSU, Bama, Georgia. That's really on LSU. 4.
6 as well.
Okay.
LSU missed it in 20 and 21.
Yeah, I was not even looking at Bama and Georgia. I was just trying to think how many LSU had. So,
yeah. So it's telling that basically the answer is ACC 0, Big Ten 6, SEC 6. You got to have your good teams good for people to take you seriously. And then the middle can go up and down and stuff like that. And I think we acknowledge the middle of the Big Ten and the SEC are also stronger than the ACC. So that conference has some work to do.
That's an interesting question. I mean, you because that SEC, that could evolve with LSU, whoever they hire next. Michigan, that could evolve. I mean, we may be doing Ohio State, Oregon, and somebody else, Indiana. Who knows? That's the where we're at. But parity can be good, but parity can turn the ACC into what it's turned it into. There's no question.
So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining. We'll be back tonight, 7 o'clock, for the ESPN College Football Playoffs ranking show. We'll do that show for about 20, 25 minutes and discuss. I don't anticipate too much change at the top. I think the teams that fall out are the same teams that you had Saturday night. We're going to lose BYU. We're going to lose Memphis. We're going to lose Virginia. And we'll see what three teams kind of jump in. We expect Georgia Tech probably to be the top ACC team. I think we talked about it Saturday, USF to be the group of 5. And then I think it was Texas slipping up into the last at-large that we thought. So we'll find out where they are tonight. This is week 2 of, I guess, 5 Tuesday nights before the selection Sunday. So we'll be back for that. And then, of course, we'll be back Thursday morning at 9:30 to preview week 12. So thank you to everyone for listening to the CFB Nation All-America podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you to Irish Breakdown, your source for Notre Dame football information. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you tonight.